on.
There we go.
Yeah, we are.
Yep. What's up, everybody?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm great. I got a chance to spend the evening with my little granddaughter.
Who's here visiting today?
Yeah, and so she's on spring break, and she got a chance to come and hang out with Grandpa.
Oh, nice.
So that's kind of fun.
Got an audience today.
Yeah, we have an audience.
So we have Nick Martinez here.
I am Nick Martinez.
Thank
that's
you
me.
so much for coming. Greatly appreciate you.
Oh no, I appreciate you guys, honestly. Just
likewise.
Good energy here.
Thank
I love
you.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trying to get settled here still.
I know, you're good. So, what are we talking about?
We want to talk about you.
You're going to talk about me?
We want to talk about you. We want to talk about what you do, how you do it.
Network.
Started?
It's all networking.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I got started, actually, I started right out of high school. I started working for Southern California Gas Company.
Okay.
As an auto mechanic. And after being there close to 10 years, I realized that it was kind of a dead end for me, so to speak. Not that the company's a great company, and it really helped me as a young dad and husband provide for my family with security. I mean, because we had great benefits and vacation and everything else, and all that kind of good stuff. But for some reason, something in me wanted to do more. I wanted to be more. I wanted to do more for my family, and I saw that I was limited as far as income went. And in order for me to be able to help my family and provide my kids, you know, especially with a better education, a private school and so forth, that I needed to do more. And so we had, at that point, I mean, I was married to, this was my first marriage, so started investing in real estate at an early age. Like I bought my first house when I was 21, and then we bought like our second property when I was like 26 or something like that. So I just knew that if I could do something more with my life, then you know it would help, right? So through the process, like when I was 23, I ended up getting really sick, and I ended up being diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow.
And so they sent me home and told me, like, you have 8 weeks to live.
Oh my gosh.
And you should go home and get your affairs in order. And so, you know, I took the doctor's word for it. I said, hey, you know, he said I'm going to be gone in 8 weeks or so, and that's just the way it is. So I went home and started getting my affairs in order. And somebody told me, somebody close, told me, you need to pray. And I said, well, I can pray, but how many Our Fathers and Hail Marys do I have to pray to save myself? And quickly realized that I didn't have to. I just had to talk to God, like just talk, right? And so I did. And, you know, at that point, I realized, like, wow, I'm only 23, I have 2 kids, and I'm going to be gone. And it kind of broke me, like, to the point where I was just, couldn't even gain my composure. Like, it just floored me, like the whole, it just all came down like a ton of bricks, right? So, you know, I started to pray, and lo and behold, 30 minutes later, a doctor called and said, hey, I just transferred from Loma Linda to Kaiser, and I know what you have, and I know how to treat it.
Oh, wow.
He said, but the problem is you have so much in you, so much cancer in you, that I don't really think the treatment's going to work. It just may help prolong, you know, give you a little bit more time. And so I said, hey, whatever, you know, I mean, I'm good to go, whatever it takes, you know what I mean? And so what happened was I went and did my first chemo treatment, and after the first treatment, all the cancer disappeared. Half of it just was gone. And so my doctor, on the second treatment, he told me, you know, we need to do another CAT scan, we need to go through the whole process again. And at that point, I just told him, I said, look, if this isn't working, then I'd just rather go home. Like, I don't want to be here in the hospital.
Right.
And so he said, let me just explain something to you. And I said, okay. He said after the first treatment, half the cancer disappeared. He said, I have no idea where it went. He said, I think we need to do another treatment. And I said, oh, so it's working? And he said, it doesn't work like that, Nick. He said, it just, I don't know what happened, but
it is working.
it's working. So we did a second treatment, and after the second treatment, all the cancer was gone except for a spot on my lung.
Oh, wow.
And then we did another treatment, and that took care of the spot. And then we did one more treatment just for precautionary measure. And so here I am today.
Yay! Thank God.
But I got to tell you, there's a backstory to that. This person had basically challenged my father in God's existence and said, hey, God is alive today, and you can talk to him, you can pray to him, whatever. And my father, clearly just said to them, hey, if God was alive today, then he would perform a miracle that I could see in front of my eyes. He said, because the Bible said that God performed miracles, when he was walking the earth, and why wouldn't he perform miracles today?
Right.
And that was like in September of that year, 83. And by December, I was in the hospital, diagnosed with cancer on my dad's birthday.
Really?
So I had to call my father on his birthday, and I didn't want to tell him I was in the hospital. And I just said, hey, I'm calling you to say happy birthday to you and see how you're doing, whatever. And he's like, oh, how are you? I'm like, oh, I'm great. But I was sitting in a hospital bed.
Right.
And so then, my kid's mom, she actually called him and said, hey, he's in the hospital, he's not doing well, or whatever. So my parents ended up coming back from New Mexico, back to California to help, you know what I mean? But, today my father, he reads every day, he reads the Bible every day.
Wow.
He told me, he said, I promised God that if he healed you, that I would devote my life to him. So, I call my dad pretty much almost every day, and he gives me wisdom.
That's awesome.
So it's crazy. So my journey started there. I started a mortgage corporation, because then I realized there has to be more. Like I got healed, this miraculous healing.
Right.
And there has to be more. And I had a lot of people telling me, you are going to do great things. God's going to do great things with you. But I didn't know what that meant. I was like, what does that mean?
Right.
And how do you know when God's going to do something or use you? And I waited and waited and waited. And I went to church, I went to Bible study. I seeked everything, like, okay, I'm waiting.
Right.
And nothing happened. And then I decided, well, the best thing I could do to give back is to help people. So I just started helping people. So that's what I do now.
Just help people.
Anytime I get a chance, I just help.
Like us, you're helping us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time.
You guys are helping me. Yeah,
We were a big task.
So I've done a lot. I mean, we've Remo, my business partner, who we interviewed before on a previous episode. We've mentored quite a few people in just business in general, but also like in the arts.
Right.
We mentored a young man who now has a beautiful family, a wife and 3 babies. But we mentored him in the early stages, and then he took what we taught him, and he just went like full blast.
Really?
And he ended up running a motion graphics department for Disney.
Okay.
And then we've got a couple of young filmmakers that we met while they were in school, and we brought them out as soon as they graduated, and we mentored them. And they're doing great things. I just spoke to them yesterday. They just came back from Austin.
Wow.
They're doing a documentary. They've got some stuff on Amazon Prime and stuff like that. Music-wise, we've mentored several people. One guy that I'm working with right now, helping him with his record label.
Okay.
But he owns a music studio. He owns a record label. He's got a couple artists that he's putting onto the market. So, we helped him. Just different people.
What work have you done out there? Oh, that everybody can see.
Well, so we owned a post-production marketing company, which we touched with on Remo when Remo was here. And with that company, I did like a audio, with the company, and mostly just like try to do business development. Then got into technology and working with 3D, auto stereoscopic 3D, which basically is 3D with no glasses.
Oh, okay.
And so I was focused on that, and but the company itself did movie trailers. So we did, our company did Book of Eli, did Django Unchained, it did Social Network.
And did you Breaking Bad?
We did some work on Breaking Bad, and then before I got there, they did several other jobs. You know what I mean? But then we worked also with one of the lead singers for Carlos Santana. I'm right now currently working and helping. I'm not his manager, but I kind of help, consult from Carlos Santana's nephew. His name is Adam Lasher.
Okay.
There was a young lady by the name of T. Lopez that I met when she was 18, who now has 3 babies and a beautiful family. But I signed her to DePass Entertainment, which is a lady by the name of Suzanne DePass. And Suzanne is most recognized for running Motown. She ran Motown Records for like 25 years.
Wow.
But her biggest, I think, me personally, I think her biggest claim to fame is she discovered the Jacksons.
Oh, wow.
And signed them.
Awesome.
So, I was fortunate to be able to help her put this female singing group together. And that's where T. Lopez came in and became part of that group.
Wow.
And she ended up doing a couple of world tours. And that was kind of a crazy story because I went to go get my truck fixed, loaned it to somebody, and they broke a headlight.
Right.
And so I took it to a Chevy dealer, and they said, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. So I went around the corner to this body shop, and I ended up meeting T's father there. And he told me, hey, my daughter sings. And because I gave him my card and said, here, you can call me when the part comes in. And he said, what do you do? And I said, oh, we do music and, all kinds of production stuff. And he said, my daughter sings. And I said, okay. And he goes, she sings really well. And I said, okay. And he said, would you like to meet her sometime? And I said, yeah, I would, but she can just call me and I can tell, whether I'll be able to help her or not. And he said, you don't want to meet her, like, in person? And I said, no, just have her call. And he goes, you want to see a picture of her? And I said, sure. So he showed me this picture, and he has a beautiful family. So I was like, well, which one's the one that sings? And he goes, this one. And I go, okay. I said, yeah, just have her call me. So she did, and I heard her sing over the phone. She sang Amazing Grace.
Oh, wow.
And when she started singing, I thought to myself, this young lady better have some vocals, because where she started singing that song, I knew where she had to go from there. And I figured, I don't know if she's going to be able to hit that note. And man, she gave me goosebumps. Like, she nailed it like you couldn't believe. And I was like, wow. And it just so happens that about a month later, I was at a Christmas party in LA, in Beverly Hills, and that's when I ran into Suzanne. And she said, somebody tells me that you have a knack for finding talent. And I said, I think I'm fortunate, to run into good talent. And she said, well, I need a Latina girl who can dance and sing and all that kind of good stuff. And I said, oh, when do you want to see her? And she said, you have somebody? And I said, absolutely.
Right.
And she said, okay. So I ended up calling T, and I sent her over to meet with Suzanne, and she ended up signing the deal and getting into the group. And then she ended up going on 2 world tours, and 2 years later, I finally got a chance to meet her in person.
I never got to meet her in person.
Yeah, no, I never met her in person, but she, she was able to start her career. So we've done that. I've been fortunate because I learned a lot about this business from 2 young men. And I will tell anybody right now that's out there, if you run into people like young people, don't discount them, because they know what's going on. They're, in the past, when I grew up, it was in the 60s, right? And so, your parents always, kept you in that realm of being like a kid, like just be a kid, go out in the yard and enjoy it.
Right.
Nowadays, it's a lot different. And the reason I'm saying this is because I started working in the music business at the age of 32, which is really, really late.
Mm-hmm.
But I was fortunate enough to meet this family called the Avila family.
Mm-hmm.
And the father knew a lot about the industry as far as the administrative side goes, which he taught me a lot. But I learned more about production, what it takes to be a good artist, how to develop a good artist from the two sons.
Mm-hmm.
And the sons at the time, I think, were 16 and 17 or 16
Oh
and 18.
gosh.
And I was
Wow.
already 32, so I'm taking notes on what
Mhm.
they're teaching me.
Right.
And I really honestly have to tell you that any success that I've seen in the music industry
Mm-hmm.
or just in entertainment period is because of those two guys.
Wow.
And so, you know, I'm thankful because I feel like I always say God, life, and good karma puts people in our area, like in our realm, so that we can have that support.
Right.
And a lot of times we don't recognize it.
Right.
You know, as a young person, I didn't recognize people that were mentoring me because I thought they hated me. You know, I had a boss when I worked as an auto mechanic that I could have swore up and down and sideways he hated me. I was like, this guy just hates me for no reason. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
He was always angry at me, like always trying to correct me. And I didn't understand at the time that it was for my own benefit. You know, I was young. I was in a lowrider car club. I had an attitude. You know what I mean? And he just saw something in me that was more than what I saw in myself.
Right.
And I ended up getting out of that department and going into another department and working for a gentleman by the name of Al Garcia. And that was at the gas company. And I thought the same thing of Al. I was like, why does he like not like me? You know what I mean? But Al's since passed away since then. But I remember I got a chance to meet with him maybe a couple of years before he passed. And I had already been gone from the gas company for several years. And I ended up having breakfast with him and a couple of other coworkers. And I got a chance to really tell him thank you for being so hard on me, for showing me, you know, how to be a better man, how to be a better husband, how to be a better person in general. So, you know, we can learn a lot of things from people. It doesn't matter how old or how young they are.
Right.
You just have to, I believe you have to have an open mind enough to be able to receive information.
Right.
So yeah, so that, you know, that kind of all started the journey to where I'm at now. And now what we're doing is we're doing influencer integration and branding with brands. So what we do is we connect influencers with brands. We're doing environmental packaging.
Right.
So we have paper products that are completely 100% biodegradable. If they go into a landfill, within 90 days they're gone. And it's, you know, cutlery, plastic cutlery that's made out of plant-based material. And then we have a company called Terraforma Systems, which takes food waste and composts it into healthy soil. And so we have one machine at a casino up in Santa Barbara right now that's doing about 1,500 to 2,000 pounds of food waste every 24 to 36 hours.
That's amazing.
And turning it into like 700 pounds of soil, healthy soil.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't know a whole lot about environmental impact and sustainability, and then started looking into it and realized that, you know, this is the best way I could help our future, our grandkids, our kids, you know what I mean? And so I had to step up my E-game, my environmental game.
And
so,
you did.
Yeah, so
And you did.
it's been a fun journey so far, but it's been also hard. It's been tough, you know what I mean? Because in some cases you just have to do what you got to do. So, you know, I was fortunate that one of my really good friends gave me some construction work at times when I needed it, you know, and treated me really well. And
I tried.
Louis really did. He helped me. I mean, I ended up getting sick again. I got cancer for the second time,
Oh.
and ended up having a tumor in my kidney, and then they had to go in and take that out. And then I ended up with internal bleeding and ended up back in the hospital.
When was that?
This was about 3 years ago.
Oh, 3 years
Yeah.
ago. Okay.
And so I just remember I was at home and I walked downstairs. I felt kind of lightheaded and dizzy, and luckily my wife is a critical care nurse and by trade, and so I just told her I don't feel good. She said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I feel like I'm gonna pass out."
Oh,
And
jeez.
next thing you know, I woke up in an ambulance,
Mm-hmm.
and then I passed out again, and then I remember hearing like all these noises, and I thought to myself, like, where am I?
Right.
And I could hear stuff going on, and I was like, am I in a hospital? And then I woke up and I saw my wife, my parents, my son,
wow.
my daughter, my grandson, and I thought, whoa, I must be checking out. Like, something's going on, like I must be leaving this earth now or something, But they were just there because they love me. And
Right.
so, I ended up taking an ambulance ride back to Keck USC University Hospital, and those people took really good care of me. Of course, it helped that my wife used to teach there.
That's right.
So.
Right.
But yeah, they took good care of me. So again, I would say by the grace of God, I'm still here. So when people ask me, what drives you or what motivates you, helping people and meeting new people motivates me. Being around good people that are like you guys, that are like-minded, both spiritually and energy-wise. I've learned to be very selective as to who I spend my time with now, and who I invest time with. I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I'm here with you guys.
Yeah, we love having you here. Always love hanging out with you. Yes.
No, it's just what we do. I mean, we believe wholeheartedly in karma, and we believe that you put energy out there, and it's always going to come back in one way or another.
Right.
It doesn't have to be monetary. It could be somebody calling you just to say how's your day when you're having a bad day. I mean, that could change a lot. Approaching people with a different attitude, like even if they're having a bad day, you approach them with some positive, good energy. Like, hey, I'm thankful that I woke up this morning.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, that's been my ambition in life, is to help people and see them succeed. Because then you know that you've done something positive.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
What would you want your legacy to be?
Honestly, just I think most importantly, I would just like for my kids to know, and people to know that you can change your life. You know what I mean? You can do better things in life, no matter where you're at right now.
Right.
Like it's never the end of the road, and it's unfortunate that some people, they don't have the support or the means to get through some major problems, whether it be, addiction or, just all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's out there. The challenges that we have every day, and everybody's challenge is different. And we all have different reasons why we have these challenges in our life. But we struggled. I mean, when my parents, when I was young, I mean, my parents always had a job, but opportunity never really presented itself the way it does now. Because back then, you were kind of limited to what you could do, depending on, your race, your age, and everything else. And so, I saw my mom and dad working hard. I saw my dad work 2 full-time jobs, 8 hours a day at each job. And come home and sleep for an hour in between work, you know what I mean? And he didn't do it because he wanted a new car, or he didn't do it because he wanted to move us into a better neighborhood. And that's what he did. And my mom has been working all her life. I mean, so it doesn't matter. You know, you could be doing everything right, and for some reason, the universe has everything going against you. But that's not the end. You know, if you take those challenges and you take them as life lessons and you learn from them, and you're able to overcome, you know, those kind of situations, I believe, you know, you end up coming out a better person, but you end up coming out the type of person that knows how to help other people through your own experiences. You know what I mean? So, you know, I've done, let me tell you, I've been everywhere. You talk about drugs, not alcohol. I was never an alcoholic, so to speak. But, you know, I started really as a young kid, even though my parents were really great parents, I felt like I had to fend for myself.
Right.
And I remember when we first moved, because I was born in the Midwest.
Oh, wow.
And
Kansas, right?
Yeah, in Kansas. And so when we came here to California, we, you know, my parents had to get started somewhere, so we ended up living in the projects in South Colton. And, you know, as a kid, like being in first grade, that was really rough.
Right.
Because those kids were really rough.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
they taught you how to fight really quick. And so every time my parents moved us to another neighborhood, it was a better house, a better neighborhood. But it was that same thing all over again. Like, where are you from? Who are you?
Right.
And then you end up meeting the toughest guy in the school, and next thing you know, you're having to fend for yourself.
Right.
So
Yikes.
through that whole process, you know, I think it helped me understand how to fend for myself. But then I got to the point where I didn't even wait. Like, I'm gonna find the toughest guy in the school, and I'm just gonna go after him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which then he transferred over to me being a young teenager, and then it got to the point where I was, you know, in my late teens, early 20s, and just fight anybody. Like, I'll fight anybody, and I don't care.
Wow.
Like, and so that got me in trouble. I ended up getting arrested twice.
Oh, wow.
You know, for fighting both times.
Really?
As an adult, and ended up in jail and twice, and still didn't learn my lesson. And then 23, I got cancer, and that changed everything.
That did it.
That to me was like, okay, I don't care how tough you are, I don't care what you're willing to, how many block walls you're willing to run through. Your health you cannot control.
Right.
And only God knows. So that changed everything for me.
Wow.
So, and then I think, you know, realizing all of that, I did my best to do the opposite for my kids. You know, I kept them completely away from the things that I knew challenged me in life, and helped them try to focus on things that were going to make them better people. And so today, I'm proud of them.
They're all good.
They're amazing. You know, we've got, my wife and I have 4 kids together. We have 3 daughters and a son. 2 of our daughters live in Indiana, and they're doing really, really great. And we have a granddaughter who's there, who runs multiple food distribution centers. You know, and she's successful at what she does, and we're really proud of her. And I brag about her all the time. And then, you know, we have a total of 6 grandkids altogether. And now, and then a year ago, we just had our first great grandchild, which is a major blessing. Yeah. So, like I said, it's been challenging at times, but overall, I mean, if I wake up in the morning, then the challenges were nothing, because I know what it feels like to have limited time here on earth. You know, so yeah, I'm thankful.
Good for you.
I'm thankful.
Sounds like an amazing story.
Oh yeah, you know what?
that.
It's crazy. I've not really shared that with too many people in that kind of detail or depth. You know what I mean? I just, for some reason, I just felt like this is the time.
Right.
You know,
It's
I think
inspiring.
if people need help, you know, don't be afraid. Like, you don't, you know, you could be as strong as you want, but you're not that. You don't always have to be that. It's okay to ask for help. You know, especially, I think a lot of men, a lot of guys, young guys. I mean, we want to improve our strength and our worth, and we want to be like that guy. You know what I mean? But even the biggest guy and strongest person in the world, at some point, it can be humbled.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you understand that what you have today could be gone tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
then you know that your real value in life is just your health, your family, and your spiritual walk.
Right.
That's what keeps you centered.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with
So,
that 100%.
How'd you pick that name? Good life, good karma.
God, life, and good karma.
Yeah.
So it's just me. Like I wholeheartedly believe in God because I feel that's the reason why I'm still here. I feel that if I do my best to live the best possible life here while I'm here, helps me and people around me. And then I believe wholeheartedly in karma. I believe that what you put out there comes back to you, good or bad. You know what I mean? So I just tell people God, life, and good karma.
I love that.
That's
a good mantra.
Yeah, I like it. It just it feeds me and it talks to me when I even just saying it reminds me like, hey, I believe in God and I love life and I want to always project good karma.
Yeah, well, you do.
Thanks.
You do. It's an amazing
Thank you.
story. I love that.
Yeah. So it's been a little bit of a journey. I mean, right now, we're working on a couple of artists. We've got a couple of more companies that are interested in using our technology for the composter and the packaging, and then our influencer branding business is doing really well. We're getting more brands on deck, like this Lemon Perfect Water, which is absolutely amazing.
Nick's company, Nick and Remo.
Well, this is a company that our company represents out of I think they're out of Atlanta.
Okay.
But we got their product into the hands of influencers, and the influencers fell in love with it.
It is good. It's an amazing.
It is great,
water,
right? Yeah. It's probably the best water I've ever tasted, flavored water.
Right,
you know what I mean? So
when you told me that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I think I've had some flavored water, and then I had this, I was like, oh, he's true. That's right. He's speaking the truth.
Really
yeah, there's another flavored water out there that I started drinking, and then I tasted this one, and I was like, oh.
This is so good.
Yeah.
It is good.
It's really refreshing. It's got a lot of flavor to it, but it's not like overbearing. I mean, some waters that are flavored, you drink them, you can barely taste the flavor. This one is.
It's good.
Yeah.
So what are you doing this weekend?
This weekend is actually pretty interesting. I'm actually leaving to Las Vegas. And the young guys that I mentioned earlier that taught me a lot about the business, they're doing, they just finished a song with Billy Ray Cyrus and Snoop Dogg. Right. And they're doing this huge launch event in Vegas on April 1st. I think the song gets released on April 1st.
April 1st.
And then, the event that they're doing is April the 2nd. So. Okay. So that's kind of where we're, what is it?
I don't know. I can hear it too. There, it stopped.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
sorry about that.
So there's a huge event going on in Vegas. So I'll be up there hanging with those guys.
Right.
And just checking out what they're doing. I always love to see what they're doing because they're so creative and they're so innovative when it comes to not only just their music, but just the marketing around projects that they're doing. They come up with the most amazing ideas.
Now, who's expected at this event?
Well, you know what? It's actually Grammy weekend.
Right.
The Grammys are on Sunday, so I can't even tell you. I bet you there's going to be a lot of people.
Everybody.
Pretty much, yeah, because there's a lot of events going on. But this is a really big one. It's at Resort World, which is the newest. I think it's the newest casino there in Vegas.
One of the newest ones.
Yeah. And so I imagine there's probably going to be quite a few people there.
The who's who.
The who's
in
who.
music.
Yeah, especially because you got these huge icons. I mean, the guys that I'm talking about, the Avila brothers. I mean, they're 5-time Grammy winners. They've got multiple Grammys, I should say, and they've worked with some of the most amazing people on the planet. Like Janet Jackson and Mary J. and Shaka Khan and people like that.
Right.
And then, for them to be where they're at right now, it doesn't surprise me because I knew when I first met them that there was something different about them. Just extremely talented.
Right.
But then I got a chance to see what else, where their mind took them outside of that, and their ideas for marketing and branding are like incredible.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I'm still learning a lot
You're
from
gonna have
them.
to share those with us.
Oh yeah, I would love to. I would love to. Yeah.
The
so-
marketing and the branding.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel up until this point in my life, I feel like I've been really blessed. I've had challenges. The health challenges, I couldn't, that couldn't do nothing about that.
Right.
I had to leave that to
Yeah.
God, right?
Right.
But the other challenges, if I could have made better decisions, you know what I mean?
But that makes you the
Yeah.
person that you are today. By
It
going through
definitely
those
did,
experiences.
I encounter people. I mean, I see people, and you can, if you've been around the block a couple of times, you can sum a person up pretty quick when you meet them. You're like, okay, I know what this person's coming from. I
Right.
know,
Mm-hmm.
what they're about, especially if they tell you where they're from or what area they lived in. Then you're like, okay, I know exactly how to approach you. I know how to talk to you.
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, we end up, regardless of who it is, we end up having a good conversation. And I'll talk to people in the elevator. I'm so happy to be alive that it just,
Right.
wherever I go, I just talk to
Yeah.
people.
You appreciate life.
I do greatly. I mean, I got, I told my dad the other day. I said, I feel like so blessed because at 23 I could have been gone, and I would have never seen my son or my daughter grow
Right,
up. I would have
right.
never met my wife and our daughters that we have together. I would have never experienced any of that, and then to have a great grandson and to be able to hold him and put him to bed, and
Right.
night before night, I mean, I was able to put him to sleep in my arms, and then my granddaughter, his mom, took him upstairs to sleep. But those are the things that, as a person, you don't realize how valuable those are.
Right.
It's not one of those things where you wave this flag and go, hey, I'm a great grandfather. It's, no, man, I really enjoy it. I
Right.
like feeding the little guy. I like, I just like being around him.
Right.
Every day is a
Yeah.
blessing with that
Yeah.
little guy. You know what I mean?
It's a different love than your kids.
It is a different love. It's like, I can't say it's a deeper love because we love our kids very deeply.
Yeah.
But
It's
it's one of those
different.
things I was thinking about this the other day, and I thought, okay, there's no handbook on how to raise a kid,
No.
right? And every kid's different, and
Right.
everybody's situation is different.
And every parenting's different.
Exactly.
Different kinds of parenting.
And so, I never challenge anybody on how they're parenting their kids. I'll just watch and observe, or, if it's something that they ask me, then I'll be like, oh, okay, here's what you do, or here's what you can do.
Right.
But I thought about this long and hard, and I thought, as a young parent, there is no handbook, so it's a learning process. And you learn every day because, my daughter was the firstborn, and when she turned 2, that was my first time having a 2-year-old. When she turned 3, that was my first time. So every experience through the years has been a new experience.
Right.
When my son was born, I had experience now because I had my daughter already.
Right.
So I kind of knew a little bit more and knew what to expect. But, I tell people this all the time, especially young people that I encounter like in the music industry. And I'll ask them, like, how are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm doing okay, but, I'm just having problems. I'm like, what's the matter? I'm having problems at home. Like, what's wrong? Oh, my parents just don't get me, or they don't understand me.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, are you the oldest in your family? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, how old are you? And they're like, oh, I'm, 18, whatever. And I tell them, how many times has your parent had an 18-year-old before that they had to parent?
Right.
And they look at me like, well, me? And I'm like, dude, this is your first time. This is their first time.
Right.
Like, they don't know how to handle an 18-year-old.
Right.
That's true.
And you aren't helping them any by making it
Difficult.
challenging for
Yeah.
them. You're all learning together. And then they kind of get an idea, It's really just understanding and asking and knowing, because I remember I was in a studio in San Diego, and we were working on a pretty cool project, and they had a bunch of rap artists that came through. And there was this young man, who showed up to be part of this production. And everybody was in the studio. It's a beautiful studio. Everybody's in the studio, and we're all working, and everybody's doing their thing. And I noticed that this young man went outside the studio, and he's sitting in the hallway on the floor just by himself. And so I walked out to go to the vending machine to get something to drink, and as I walked by him, I thought to myself, I don't know what's going on with him and why he's not in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, hey, I'm going to get something to drink. Do you want something to drink? And he said, no, man, I'm good. And I said, all right. So I went down and I got something anyway. And I brought him back, you know, I think it was a soda maybe, and I put it on the ground and I said, here. And then I sat down. I go, what's going on with you, man? And he goes, oh, nothing, you know, I'm just hanging out. And I go, something's going on with you. Like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you know, I'm just struggling right now. And I said, what are you struggling with? And he said, today's my birthday, and, you know, I'm here, and he goes, I should be with my wife and my kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, why aren't you? And he said, because we're not getting along right now.
Oh.
So the bottom line is, to make a long story shorter, he said that, you know, I'm puzzled. He said, because we got married, he said, she doesn't, like, I eat at Taco Bell every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I go, what? And he said, yeah, there's a Taco Bell across the street, and every day that's what she brings me. And he said, and, you know, she don't cook, she don't clean, she don't do the laundry, and I eat Taco Bell every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa. So something just told me, like, ask him. And I said, well, have you ever considered that maybe she doesn't know how to do that stuff? And he said, nah, like, you know, who doesn't know how to cook or clean?
Well, why don't you cook for yourself? That's
right?
what I would have said.
So I told him, I said, you know, you really, because he was talking like he wanted to get a divorce, like it was that deep.
Because
for him,
he's
right?
eating at Taco Bell every day.
And because she's not cooking, he's doing everything. He's going to work, he's coming
Mhm.
home, he's taking, like, helping take care of the baby, and then he's doing all the other stuff around the house. And he just said, I just need her to meet me halfway.
Oh,
like,
okay.
You know what I mean? And I said, okay. And he said, and I asked her, like, can you help me? And she just doesn't help. Well, I asked him, like, did you ever consider that maybe she hasn't been taught that?
Right.
Because I know other young women in my life that have not had that privilege of being taught by their mom or whoever, right?
Right.
And so he said, no, I don't think that's it. And I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to pray for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we left. 2 years later, I'm at a concert. It's a huge concert. It's like 58,000 people. And I'm walking along the side to go backstage. And the security guy goes, hey, are you Nick? And I looked at him like, how in the heck do you know that? Right? And I said, I am Nick. And he said, I think that person's calling you. And I go, who? And he said, over there, the guy, he's waving. And he keeps saying, Nick. Well, I didn't hear anything because I wasn't expecting anybody to call me.
Right.
And so I looked over, and it was that kid.
Oh, wow.
And he was going like this, like, wait. And he was making his way through the crowd. And finally, when he got to the rail, because there's like a, 4-foot rail or something like that, he like stepped up on it, and he come up and he hugged me.
Oh.
And I go, dude, so good to see you. Like, how have you been? And he said, I've been looking for you. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. And I said, how can I help you? And he said, you saved my marriage, man.
Oh, wow.
And I said, what? And he said, I went home and I had a talk with her, and turns out she didn't know how to do that stuff. He said, and bro, he said, I started teaching her. He said, and next thing you know, she started cooking and cleaning. He goes, in my marriage, we got another baby. And I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, yeah. He goes, you helped me save my marriage.
Cool.
So, those kind of things, you just never know. You know.
It's communication. You got to talk. If
you
you
have to talk
if you
to
see a
people.
problem in your relationship, you should say something.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the other thing too. Like, if you have this is what I believe. Okay, if you have a relationship with somebody, and that relationship is personal, whether it be business or friendship or whatever. Like, nobody should be able to influence that relationship outside. You know what I mean? If that person has, because I've had this several times in our industry. It's like a dog eat dog world, especially in entertainment. People will take advantage of every opportunity because they're trying to elevate themselves.
Right.
And I understand
Oh,
that.
yeah. In the spiritual too.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I always say to myself, if you have a relationship with somebody, keep that relationship with that person individually,
Mhm.
and don't let any outside influences come around.
Right.
Because people will try to influence you
Mhm.
and change your direction.
Mhm.
And if you know in your heart and in your mind, like, you know where you're supposed to be at, then nobody should change that for you. You know
Right.
what I mean?
That's
Right.
true.
So, it's just a different way of thinking, I guess. I don't know. I imagine other people think the same way because we
Well,
kinda,
it's communication.
it is
I mean, it's
communication.
communication. You got to communicate with the
Yeah.
person that you're in a relationship with, whether it's business, spiritual, friendship, or what have you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even know how to do that.
No,
they don't know
they
how to
don't.
communicate.
No, they don't. I mean, and I think a lot of it is the way you're brought up or you're taught. You know what I mean? My parents they're hardworking people. I mean, they just went to work every day and they came home and took care of us, and then they enjoyed their weekends.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we did a lot of stuff as a family. We did a lot of picnics with other families and stuff like that growing up. My parents have always kept us close to our family, cousins, aunts, uncles.
Right.
Taught us how to respect, our elders when we were young. And so, I think that had a lot to do with helping me create a foundation
Right.
for myself and just create somewhat of a balance almost.
Mhm.
But I really didn't learn what balance in life was until I started seeking knowledge and wisdom to know what else is out there besides what the Bible teaches me or besides what I learned in school or whatever. I'm not afraid, to know that there's teachings from Buddha that would help me in life understand. One of our mutual friends, Professor Sashi, said something to us one time that it was so simple, and I said to myself, like, how could I not have thought of that? But Remo and I had encountered a situation, and we literally, in business, we hit a block wall. And I said to Remo, I don't even know what to do now. Like, we're kind of stuck. And he said, yeah, I agree. And then we went to go see Sashi. And Sashi, not even knowing what was going on in our lives at the time, he used that same analogy. He said, it's like a block wall. He said, when you encounter a block wall, what do you do? And I'm thinking, like, I don't know, you keep chipping away at
You
it.
go over it.
And he said, no, you just go around it. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's what we need to do. We need to go around this. And so Remo and I talked about that, and we found a way around that situation and ended up being back on our way again, So like you said, communication. I always feel like if you're too busy thinking about what you're going to say, then you're not going to listen, you're not going to hear what's actually going on. So I had to learn how to listen properly,
right,
and then how to be engaged.
right.
You know what I mean? Like you don't. It's you can talk to somebody or somebody can talk to you, but if you're not really engaged, you're not listening, then you don't really get the full effect of what it is that's going on.
Exactly.
And I think that has a lot to do with even with your kids. Raising kids. I remember when my son was little, he hated wearing shoes, and so we'd get him ready in the morning, and then he'd take his shoes off, and I'd come back in his room and his shoes were off. And his mom would get upset, obviously, like, put your shoes on. And so I thought to myself, well, this kid doesn't want to put his shoes on, and it's not a major thing, so how do I get around this? And so what I did was I took a quarter and I put it on his little desk, and I took my shoes and I put them by his, and I said, okay, it's a race. Whoever puts their shoes on first gets the quarter. And he was like, all right. So he did it, right? And so we walked out the door. Next morning, came with another quarter. It was actually the same quarter. He didn't know it. So I came with the same quarter, put it on there. It's like, okay, here's the race. And we did that probably for maybe 2 weeks. And then next thing you know, he just got up and put his shoes on.
He just did it.
Yeah, he just did it,
Wow.
So those kind of things, I think, make a world of difference, when you're trying to communicate,
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, good.
that's me.
Yeah, well, good. Well, thank you so much.
No, I appreciate you guys having me, man,
We
and
greatly
allowing me
appreciate
to allowing me to share, this story with you guys.
Oh,
And,
you've got a lot of good stories.
Oh, yeah.
I've had a lot of great experiences
Yes.
and some really crazy ones.
Yeah,
So
you'll have to share those next time.
I would love to.
We love that.
I would love to come back and do that.
Well, thank you again. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you
Greatly
very much. I mean,
appreciate
I would invite
Thank you.
anybody here to Mindful Lotus.
Yes.
Tell them to come down, check out the energy,
Mm-hmm.
look at some of the amazing things that you have in your
Yeah.
store, and
Take part in some of our workshops and
Yeah,
gatherings
yeah.
and services.
Yeah.
Please do, yeah.
which is something that I'm still learning more about
Yeah.
with you guys.
Yeah.
Which is really helping me. So
Well,
Yeah.
you'll have to
Appreciate
come
you
back for
guys.
some services.
yeah, that's right.
Well,
yeah.
thank you again.
Thank you
Thank
guys. I appreciate it. Looking forward to coming back again sometime.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
They invited me to studio with Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
And so I told Remo, hey, you want to go to Lewis and Jam studio? Like Bobby and Izzy are working there. He said, yeah. So it was the evening time. It was probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. It was dark out.
Yeah.
And so we go to the studio, and those kind of studios are really secure, and so you normally have to go through one